do. I'm going to show you something with it in a minute. It says the Rhodes Scholarship Program, established by the terms of Cecil Rhodes' seventh will, are known to everyone. What is not so widely known is that Cecil Rhodes in his 5 previous wills left his fortune to form a secret society, which was to devote itself for the preservation and expansion of the British Empire. And what does not seem to be known to anyone is that this secret society, created by Cecil Rhodes and his principal trustees, continues to exist to this day. To be sure, this secret society is not a childish thing like the Ku Klux Klan. It does not have any secret robes, secret hand clasp, or secret passwords. It does not need any of these since its members know each other intimately. It has no oaths of secrecy nor any formal procedure of initiation. It exists. It holds secret meetings over which the senior members preside. Cecil Rhodes, Lord Milner, Lord Selborne, Sir Patrick Duncan, Field Marshal Jan Smuts, Lord Lothian, Lord Brand are a series of men who carried on the tradition to protect the money that Cecil Rhodes left to perpetrate his leadership, culminating in Rhodes Scholar Bill Clinton becoming President of the United States, which simultaneously compelled Oxford University to fly the American flag because finally Cecil Rhodes' legacy had come home and America was brought back under British domination through the use of the secret society. And remember, P-Rock was forced out the race, so it was Clinton or nobody, even though we know he slept with that woman for 12 years. He a hoe. Yes, he's a hoe. Now, you showed that book. Now look at this. That book was called Behold a Pale Horse. And he showed the cover. Now, I'm going to wait on this one because this is very important. He showed the cover, Behold a Pale Horse by Cooper, which was a biblical foretelling that when the pale horse came, so would come death and famine. It's in the last chapter of the Bible called Revolution. Some people call it Revelation, but if you bring revelation, you will have revolution. But come back to the picture. Come back. I wasn't through with it yet. Come on, I'm going to wait on you. Got to come back to the picture. There's no dialogue without me explaining the picture. There you go.
Thank you, Rudy.
Here is Newsweek with Clinton.
Thank you.
There's Clinton on a white horse. There's Clinton on a white horse in Newsweek. The pale white horse, as was foretold in the Bible. Behold, a pale white horse. There's Clinton on the cover of Newsweek, and it says, can Clinton tame Satan? Which is in the Quran, how you say Satan. It says Satan, and it really says here Washington. Can Clinton tame Satan? And look at the black dragons at his feet. I think I'm the one on the left over there, because I'm definitely against this white colonial activity. And symbolically, I suggest to the people that this is no accident. This is a Newsweek magazine, November 30th, 1992, and the cover of Behold a Pale Horse, pulling upon the biblical prophecy that there would come one riding on a pale horse who would bring with him death and famine, and would control a fourth part of the earth, and would allude to the rise of the Antichrist, or the core of negativity, which I perceive is like the Wizard of Oz. And I also believe, Brother Ra, that me and you and some of the people that are going to get together at Roxbury College this weekend have a God-given privilege to search out this beast and at the appropriate moment slay it to free the people, all of the people, most of which sought to serve it rather than destroy it.
You showed the cover there, and it had Clinton's face on the horse. Now, the chapter, as William uses to open his book, and look, and behold, a pale horse, and his name that sat upon him was Death, and hell followed with him, and the power was given unto them over the fourth part of the earth, to kill with sword, with hunger, and with the beasts of the earth. This is written in the Holy Bible, Book of Revolution.
That's right.
Chapter 6, verse 8. All right? So, Well, would you say that's a good segue into Christianity and dealing with that, since we only have 55 minutes left? Is that...
Well, the question of religion, I think, is a very important one. How does religion fit in this discussion of the beast, or the core of negativity? One will look at us and wonder, what really are we doing on the air here in Cambridge, Massachusetts, in a predominantly white community, talking about things that most people are afraid to discuss, even privately or in their homes. Parents deny their children. Children are misled and misunderstood, or watch parents do things they know they don't really want to do for money. And here you and I are on this show, free and honorable enough to stand up and declare that we're going to stand up against evil. But there are other people who pledge on a religious level that they are the fighters of evil. The only problem is that I perceive that the Rockefellers, the DuPonts, the Astors, the Stallings, the Cabot Lodges never worry about being attacked by a mere preacher or a church alliance, because in most cases, like with the National Council of Churches, it is a Rockefeller creation. And any religion that went to this government and filed papers for the right to be not-for-profit don't know anything about God, because God's soldiers need no declaration with no mere government official to prove they are operating on behalf of the righteous forces. And we will know who. Someone says, brother, are you a Muslim? Are you a Christian? Are you a Buddhist? What are you? I am a person of principle and values who seeks to see the right thing happen for the most amount of people in as fair and as compassionate a way, but with no tolerance for illegitimacy, negativity, or the abuse of another person for one's own personal advantages. Therefore, I am with no religion that went to Caesar to get the right to be not-for-profit, not to pay taxes, and not to be a part of other things, easements that the government gives them, never to fuck with the government. No, I ain't with none of that.
My way of saying that is to recapture what our ancestors once held true and high. I take my initials, Richard Arthur, and I go by R.A., to symbolize I'm a piece of God, because I know that our ancestors called God Amun-Ra. So I'm not God, but I'm a piece of God, and I want to uphold truth and justice. And hopefully at the end of the show we're going to hear Sister Soldier sing the only spiritual that I know is a spiritual for me, because it tunes in not on the religion, but on the relationship, and that's what it's about.
Let me touch your hand, because I want my piece to get with your piece and those other pieces that we're going to see this weekend, because it's only going to take a few good pieces to pull off what needs to be done. Everybody's not going to be in on it.
Truth.
And so all we got to know is, all the righteous people have to know, is that a few virgins can whip thousands of whores, because they have the ability to call upon an extraordinary ability to part the waters, change the seasons, produce the hurricane, or bring on the fire. Whatever is necessary and beyond the control of mere white man will be the forces that will protect us in the journey of the righteous to defeat the core of negativity that seeks to unite all the nations of the world under one leadership. What's NAFTA about? Getting Mexico and United States and Canada to have a unified free trade agreement. What's this European centralization, this 1992 European coming together of the social, political, and economic unity of the Europeans? And what is this Asian trade group with Malaysia, Taiwan, Singapore, Hong Kong, China, all spinning around, among others, Japan? It looks like, Richard, that the goal of Rockefeller's 1972 organization called the Trilateral Commission's goal was to produce the world in a three-sided power axis: North America, European, and Japan. And that those three countries would spin other countries in their axis, such as the United States would spin Canada, spin Mexico, and soon the Caribbean and South America. Europe would pick up Eastern Europe, Western Europe, and the white side of the Soviet Union, and Japan would pick up China, Hong Kong, Malaysia, Taiwan, Singapore. It's about 16 or 17 Asian countries. And the Asian side of the Soviet Union are Azerbaijan and others. And there would form the Asian cluster, so that the world would be evolved in what was called the three cluster theory. Now, for those who happen to just skip on the channel, who want to know if we know what we're saying, I ask you, the learned or attentive public that reads foreign policy magazine or foreign affairs, things which we read secretly and master for our people so that they understand what small public things are being said by rich people. In 1990, you all know that Richard Ullman wrote a story called The Post-Cold War World. And in Richard Ullman's story, Fall Foreign Policy magazine, called Enlarging the Zone of Peace, he said that we're in the three cluster theory of world power. We know that this three cluster theory of world power, which is what the Trilateral Commission had set up, North America, Europe, and Japan, that this three cluster theory of world power would come about as a result of the Soviet Union and other whites uniting, such that it was not capitalism or communism anymore. It was the rich and the poor. And now that we're in the context of rich and poor, the Enlarging the Zone of Peace article said very prominently, said, well, what will happen to countries like Africa? Says that Africa will be like a specter at the feast, a mere nuisance to the New World Order in the post-Cold War world. Say, well, what about aid to Africa? It says aid to Africa will be palliative, not curative. Now, that's a rich white man saying, we're going to give a nigga a Band-Aid, but don't stop the bleeding. Now, that's organized, cleaned up, scrubbed up white revolutionary talk. You want to hear something about white revolution? This is what's going on. The other whites, the learned whites, will know that Brother Coakley is correct, because in the year-end review of Foreign Affairs magazine, there was an article there written by a Times Magazine Nairobi station chief called Retreat from Africa. And do you know, Brother Ra, that in that story, the Council on Foreign Relations ran a story that said we will so starve Africa that in 5 years it will beg to be recolonized. We will so starve Africa that in 5 years it will beg to be recolonized. Now, if you go to the board of directors of the Council on Foreign Relations, and you look up and you see Rockefeller and Warren Christopher and Clifton Wharton and Bobby Eamon. Now, y'all whites know I know y'all names, because y'all know y'all don't even discuss these names. Bobby Eamon, ex-deputy director of CIA, Warren Christopher, now Secretary of State, Cyrus Vance, Anthony Lake. We can walk through all the whites who sit on the boards of power. We know you far better than you ever thought little poor black people ever sized you up. And I say to you, we know you far better than you ever imagined. But that ain't the point. We're really not even talking to you tonight, because you know these things, you helped write them. But now that the Council on Foreign Relations, has said we will colonize Africa, now the New York Times runs the story, colonialism is back, and not a moment too soon. And do you know, Brother Rod, that this story says that the only way out of Africa's starving, going down dilemmas is that they will have to be recolonized and accept our leadership for terms of 25 to 50 years. It says, what country will we first take over and put in trusteeship? Somalia. What is Somalia about? It's about the recolonization of Africa. This is the New York Times, which bought the Boston Globe. Now, many whites know Brother Coakley. Look up Brother Coakley in the Boston Globe. There are many listings of me in that magazine. They've been following me for years, though most of you never heard of me. New York Times has done quite a few stories on me too. Just hit my name in one of them indexes, and all of a sudden, the trailing and